Hey, we're back. Welcome everybody to another DoneJS contributors meeting. A lot of fun stuff happened for me last weekend. I guess I'll go first. I went to DoneJS LA, and it was also co-sponsored by Node Interactive, the Node.js Foundation. So they paid like a lot of money, more than 10 grand, to host the meetup in a movie theater, a really nice movie theater in Los Angeles, and there was like 450 people signed up for it, but I would say about 250 people came. And I got to speak first about DoneJS, and it went really well. It was just nice, happy circumstance that I went to like the most popular LA meetup event that they'd ever had for JavaScript. So that went really good, but I was out of t-shirts, so I couldn't hand out t-shirts, and then they finally came today, later. So I have new t-shirts, and I owe a bunch to the Milwaukee meetup I did as well. So last week I was traveling a lot to the meetups. I've been mostly working on organizing kind of the Bitballs example app. I wrote a getting started guide for it, and you can actually, if you go to DoneJS/Bitballs, it's actually there, but it's not. It's just kind of in. If you actually want to, if anybody wants to read it, let me know what they think as it's coming together. The big things it's going to talk about are how to set up sessions and users, and how to deal with that, especially with server-side rendering, and whose responsibilities are what in the Bitballs application. And then the other thing it's going to talk heavily about is how to handle relationships on the service layer and then also in the client layer. So kind of the battle between, you want high-performance apps, but you want a RESTful interface, but sometimes you need to load relational data, how to make services that can handle that and can kind of change as your application changes, what the models and view models that need to look like to handle this kind of stuff. So pretty happy with it so far. My hope is that the Bitballs app itself will be ready next week, and then I'll have kind of the article out probably shortly thereafter. So this week I'm working on a change to can set. That's kind of, I still haven't figured out exactly how I want to do it, but basically make it so can set your relational algebra. I'm doing two things to it, so you can add ID awareness to relational algebra, which I realize is actually needed, and you can have nested where clauses. So like your where, everything in your where isn't necessarily directly on the object. It can be inside of a kind of where object. So I'm experimenting with ways of doing that. So that's it for me. Prashant, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I've been out of action for a few weeks now, mostly because I was traveling to Sunnyvale, US. But I'm back to India now, and I'm planning to resume work on my issues. So the one issue that I have is number 2218, which is deprecate CAN.dot model in favor of CAN.dot connect. So I'm planning to resume work on this defect. That is my plan for this week.
Awesome. Let me know if you want to schedule some time. Like Friday would probably work best for me if you want to schedule some time to work on it. I'll be
sure. Thank you.
One other thing, we're probably changing these meetups to be Friday. It seems like everybody is okay with that. I think it works better with everybody's schedule. So it's pretty much going to be the same time as now. It will be the same time as now on Friday. Forgot to mention that. Oh, there's one other thing I forgot to mention. I posted this in Gitter. I want to eventually post this in the community page, but I posted a link to the meetup presentation that I've been giving. So if other people want to give presentations, they can download that and use the content from that if they want to. But I'll see if I can work with maybe one of our designers to put it on the community page as well. Yeah. That's it for me. Thanks, Prashant. Let me know if you want to work on that stuff. Julian, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so yeah, I'm working on several issues about. Let me share my screen. So yeah, first I'm working on a feature. Justin have this feature request, I think, 2 years ago, to have a bundle to mark modules that would not bundle in a bundle. So I make this pull request for Steel Tools, where we can now have we can now add modules on the metadata that would not build or would not bundle into the file. So we have this test here on this page down here. So we can, there's more things about, we merge the metadata, so we can put our ignore function to the build. So let me here. So we have. Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the ignore array. You can set the ignore modules, and they would not packed into the bundle. You can do it like here with the ignore array, or you can do it with the config metadata. So we can have a bundle false property on the metadata for the module, and then it will merge, or it will exclude this module. So this works.
How does it work in production, like in the browser? Do you have to point it at like a CDN or something?
You have to, if you ignore the bundle, or if you ignore the module, you have to map it in the production. So you have to, for example, jQuery, you have to write NS, and you map your jQuery to your CDN.
Shouldn't you use a path for that and not a map?
Yeah. Yeah, that should probably be a path. I'm surprised that works.
I'm not surprised it works, but I think the more correct configuration.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sure. I can update the test. It's working. So it's but I can update the test path. So
it's really good that you bring this up, because I think this is something that confuses a lot of people about, like, when do you use map and when do you use path. And the way that I look at it is that you use map when, like, you use path when you just want to change the location of where something is found. And you use map when you want to actually change what it's called, right? You might want jQuery T to be still called jQuery T, but you're just saying I want it in a different place. So that's why path is the more configuration.
Sure. Okay, you're right. So I can update this. So this is the first thing. And if you don't want to have a CDN, you mapped, or your path go to @empty, so you can exclude your code being not found there. Look if I have a test there. I thought I have a test here. So you can set jQuery T empty or source deb empty. So the loader would not load, or would not try to load this module. Yeah, I sadly include jQuery in the whole function. So I had some tests they need jQuery, so I add the jQuery module there. I can't copy that because I have a test that looks if the normalization or if the normalization module looks as it should. So to merge into the metadata, I have to normalization that module first. So I have this 2.220. I checked that in the test.
Your jQuery T could just be like a fake jQuery, right? It's not like the
Yeah,
whole
but I have a test there, so I have a test written on. I would like to check if jQuery is loaded from the CDN. So I check if jQuery is loaded from the CDN successfully. There is a test where I have this h1 tag, and in the
you can do a CDN from, there's like a GitHub CDN, so you could push your fake jQuery onto GitHub and then use that. There's a CDN GitHub thing that you could possibly use.
Okay, maybe we can talk after or tomorrow to remove this jQuery because it's a lot of code stuff that's not needed.
Right.
So one other thing. First, awesome. I did add this 2 years ago. I'm excited to see this land.
But I think it's okay. It's not failing. It's working. Hopefully, maybe.
The second thing that I wanted to ask is, okay, so I know there was an ignore in the build, but a bundle false in the meta config. Is there a difference between what those are doing? And
no, if you see, here's the.
Ignore's like a convenience. It's more. It's like a convenience thing.
Here's the stuff. If there's an option ignore, merge that into the metadata.
Yeah, I wonder if okay, so to me, previously in the old steel, there was a difference between bundle false and ignore. Ignore basically set up the same meta thing that you were trying to do. So it did two things. It basically set it to empty, is really what ignore used to do. Is it possible to?
Why'd you want that?
Well, because let's say you wanted fixtures never to be added or loaded, right?
You can configure it. You could configure that to not load using meta. Like there's a way to do that. Like you know how in one of his tests he was setting jQuery to empty.
Yes, you can do it to empty. Yeah, that's the way you would do it now. Now, well, my only concern is that ignore and bundle false sound like two different things. In some ways, I'd almost rather have it like I'd rather have the property instead of ignore just be like do not bundle, and then the array of.
Maybe we can. Yeah, maybe we can do that. It's not a problem.
Yeah,
it's only
just to make sure that these two are like related. Like it's ignore one place and bundle false another place.
The only thing isn't there's an ignore in Steel Tools export. There is an ignore, and I can't remember what that does. I think it does what he's doing.
So I have this found on Matthew talk about, and so I named it ignore. So.
Yeah, let me just think about that because it'd just be good to have them all the same, I suppose.
Okay. So one more thing I have to talk about this issue is, so maybe you can look into the code. Maybe it's not perfect. You can write me some support. I change. Maybe I add some code in make graph. So look into it and give me a support about that. But the second thing I will talk about is that the main issue I run into this was that I would compile or build an app that using Sass or CSS, and the problem was that a CSS node is a huge module about 2 MB or 2 megabyte, and it's taking a whole time to compile this node CSS module. So and I talked about Matthew and Justin a few weeks ago, I think. Is there a possibility in this pull request I only ignore or I don't concatenate the modules, so there is this code turned with empty string if there's a bundle false in there. So is there a possibility to ignore the modules from compiling or from transpiling? Do you know what I mean?
You're saying not exactly. Are you saying that there are some modules that should never be transpiled, but they are being transpiled? Like,
yeah.
No, what he's saying is he's ignoring some files, but they're still being transpiled. The ignore actually happens at the end, not at the beginning of the process.
Yes.
I think it makes sense to just don't transpile ones that we know that we're going to ignore anyways.
But Justin said that's not possible in some Gitter talk.
I don't think I said it wasn't possible, but I don't think my mind was in this. Like, I think it's possible to make it so if it's bundle false, we just don't do anything with it because you really shouldn't, because you're not going to write that file out. I think that's possible. I don't remember what we were talking about, and if they were the same, then I'm confused and I'm sorry. But,
okay, so maybe Matthew or you can give me a talk where can I put the stuff into the code where to ignore transpiling the module.
There's a graph transpile, I think, that transpiles each module, so you can check for bundle false there.
What do you say? In there's a lib.
Yeah, lib graph transpile. This is where it transpiles each module.
Here. Down there. Okay, so there I can skip the transpiling.
You can check.
Module.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I can look into it and make a several pull request to do that. So this is the first thing I worked, and yesterday I worked on an issue that or there's a user talk about in the Gitter. He would loading a .js file. I would want to require it, and it's not working. So I would like to do that. Want like a relative path, and would like to require a JavaScript file, but it's not working. So I make the first pull request, and Matthew are right. The module would load several times if I have the first pull request and the second pull request. The module is not loading several times anymore, so we have this this pull request where I added some stuff into the ES6 module loader. If this is the right place, or give me a feedback if it's not.
I don't know off the top of my head. I have to think about it just because. Is this ideally
This would be a normalization thing.
Yeah, generally though we like to keep. Yeah, it might be. I have to think about it. Generally, we like to keep things out of us changing ES6 module loader just so we can easily upgrade it. And there's not.
Okay.
But in this case, you might be doing it in the right place.
So look into it. So I have also writing some tests into Steel. I updated Steel with some. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong place. I'm making here is a breaking test. So there are breaking tests that are doing that stuff. So I have this salute and .javascript file and include that and do some stuff, and it's working with that. And the module is only once loaded once and not twice. So yeah,
awesome.
These are two things I'm working out, and this was for me.
That's great. Thank you so much, Julian. Mohammed or Sheriff, he can't talk because he's at work right now, but he is listening. I'll give his status. He worked on translating CanJS 2.3 release article to French. So anybody who's watching this from either Canada or for France, and there's probably like some African form or colony that speaks French. If you're watching from there, go check out his article. Here, let me show it real quick. Right here. At least I thought. I can't seem to click on it. I don't know why I can't click on it. Is that not an actual link? Okay, looks like, Sheriff, if you're watching this, you need to make your link a link, and then you can get all the glory for releasing that article. He did send it to me. Here it is. Yeah, this is his website. He did the full translation, which is really nice of him. Okay, I do have to go in 7 minutes, so I might have to jump off early, but Matthew, you want to go next?
Yeah. So I'm working on zones in our zone library to make, I don't know, bring more flexibility to zones, I guess. So we have a little demo I can show off what I've been doing, I think. All right. So what we want to do with this, so what a zone is. A zone is a context in which JavaScript is run, and we know of any asynchronous stuff that happens within that context, and we're able to keep track of how much asynchronous stuff happens and know when it's complete. That's kind of the real reason why we have them. So a good use case for this is we use this for server-side rendering. We're using this already to know when we render server-side, you do AJAX requests, you do set timeouts, whatever. We know when all that's complete, and we know to return, the rendered result. So yeah, making this a little bit more flexible. This is a little jQuery example. This is not using CanSSR. Instead, I'm using JS DOM. But the example is we create a new zone. We render a page. In this case, we're looking at the location, and depending on where we are, we're either rendering the home page or rendering this to-do page. Home page just has like some HTML. To-do actually does a request, and based on the response, it inserts some list elements. Yeah, so that's what this does. So in the client, it's going to call this render function. It's going to wait for it to finish because it's doing this inside of a zone. And when it's finished, it writes that to the document body. And over here on the right side, this is our server code. So we're doing server-side rendering. We're using JS DOM to create a document. So for each request, it's going to hit this route handler, and it's going to create a new document. It's going to use a zone to set the document each time, set the window, set the location. We're using this XHR plugin, and what the XHR plugin is going to provide for us is it's going to intercept any XHR requests that happen, and it's going to return those requests with this response. It's what this data XHR is. So let me show what this actually looks like, so you can kind of see what this.
One question I had is, in a real client app, you would want to not wait until the page is finished, until the zone has ended, to actually add the result.
Well, if it's server-side rendered, you would want to wait.
But this is not server-side rendered.
It is server-side rendered.
No, but this is like is not node. So this is when the code would run.
The code's in the client, but
yeah. Okay, I got it.
Good. Okay. All right. So let me show you what's actually output here. Pro. As you can see, this is the regular page. The home page. To-dos is more interesting. To-dos is actually writes out the list because it waited on that request, and then it's returning, it's embedding this XHR cache. So that's this code here. Is this XHR plugin is adding this XHR property to our response data, and then we're stringifying that and inserting a script tag. So if I were to just comment this out, that actually adds a script tag to the body, restart the server, would not get that, right? Like now, if I load the page, bring up my DevTools here, we're actually, oh, why are we not doing the request? Did I not restart? Maybe I didn't restart the server. Oh, because I'm not on the to-do page. Okay. All right. Yeah. Now, if I load the page for to-dos, it actually makes a request. So I put this script tag back in, and again, we're using the XHR plugin both on the client and the server. It does something different on the server versus the client. On the client, it's going to use this cache that we have, and it's going to look to see anytime we make a request to API to do, well, not anytime, the first time we make a request to API to do's, it's going to intercept that request and provide this response because we already have the response. We don't need to actually make the request. Now, if you see it loaded, and we didn't make the request this time. Yeah, I guess that's where I kind of am. I'm also making another example, which this one uses jQuery. I'm making a virtual DOM example. It's going to be exactly the same. I haven't really got very far on that one.
So, one question. Justin talked about this is not on the browser. This is not Node. So I didn't understand that what you're saying about server-side rendering. Why is it server-side rendered?
It is. So this. Let me share this again. This script is a Node script. So it's running this render function. If you see, I'm requiring the main page, which is exporting this render function, and I'm creating a new zone with a virtual DOM, or not a virtual DOM, a JS DOM, and rendering this within that context. And when it's finished, I'm returning that result. So it is being server-side rendered. If I go back to the page, turn JavaScript off, you can see that it's fully rendered. Oh, actually, I should show this. It's fully rendered already.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks.
Cool.
Okay, I have to go, everybody. Awesome, Matthew. David, go next, but I do want to mention that David worked on an article that details how to create a DoneJS plugin, and he's going to be doing the JavaScript training in 30 minutes from now about that. So anybody else watching should definitely watch that, because we try to make it very easy to make shareable widgets published to NPM that have continuous integration and tests and things like that built in. Not to step on your toes, David. But go ahead. And I'll see you all later. Good seeing you.
Thanks.
And then Bitballs folks, let's have a quick stand-up maybe like later. Maybe like 1 o'clock Central Time to go through what everybody's working on. All right. Bye.
See you all.
I have a question, Matthew. Can I like hook into that zone stuff myself? If I have to if I want to wait for a socket event or something before entering the page.
Yeah, you can. We don't listen to socket events because we don't want to do that on the server, I think. But yeah, with the new API is it has hooks to when stuff runs, so you could listen to sockets yourself, or we could create a socket plugin. Yeah.
Okay. I gotta blow my nose. Maybe somebody else can go first.
I actually had a question for Matthew too.
Okay, perfect.
The demos that you're working on, where are they going? What's the intended use of the demos?
Well, the demos show this particular demo shows off that we're able to capture the XHR request. This is part of the CanWait project. But it's evolving to be more in line with what Angular is doing as far as zones. It was already very close, but now a little bit even closer. So really the demo shows off that you can create plugins that hook into like when zones are actually executed. You can do whatever you want to do inside that.
Okay. And
That's Canvas.
And are you using the same zone library underneath that Angular's using?
No, it's CanWait.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. CanWait was already like very similar to Angular. I've just kind of been updating the API. It didn't really have hooks, but now it has like these hooks.
Okay, cool.
All right, I'm just going to make it quick. I finished that plugin article and the guide. It's on the DoneJS homepage. I'm actually not going to go through it because I'm going to go through it in half an hour. So if you want to know about it, feel free to come back then or watch it later. And currently we also have DoneJS generators. So like when you type DoneJS add Cordova or add W, it actually runs a generator, and I'm writing a generator. That's actually pretty mind-bending. Inception. That helps you create those, and then I'm writing up a guide on how to write a generator that adds JS hint to the DoneJS project. Hopefully this week.
And that's just an example, like I could write one to add ES.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah, exactly. So that will be DoneJS add JS hint, and then you can add whatever name is still free. I think it will be like DoneJS add Electron, and there's probably tons of other things. Eventually, we want to also have like DoneJS add Mocha or Jasmine, but I think we might have to change some of the things for that to not generate the default qubit and hook into the component generator. So that's going to be a little trickier.
Cool.
I'll let Adam go next because he already talked.
I did not get a lot of chance to work, so I am just continuing my preparing CanJS 3.0 task, which includes removing EJS and Mustache and switching to CommonJS and getting a util library that can stand alone. So I don't have a lot of progress on that from this last week, so I'm going to continue that this week. Hopefully I wasn't muted when I just said that.
How about Kevin?
Sure. So last week I was working on an article about dependency injection and the documentation for Steel Clone, which kind of shows the same kind of stuff. So I did the outline and the rough draft of that and wrote a bunch of code examples. So this week I'm finalizing that article, getting in some pretty diagrams and stuff to make it easier to read. And then for that, hopefully we can do a release of Steel or a pre-release. Matthew, that would be the time to do that. Maybe we can work together on it. That'd be cool. So
when's your article?
Probably early next week, so probably like Tuesday next week.
Okay, yeah. We can probably do a pre-release this week. We can get Jillian's changes in and all that stuff.
Cool. Awesome. That's it for me.
Cool. James?
Yes. I worked on getting cookies added to CanSSR. Basically, any cookies that are sent to SSR are maintained onto the server-side rendered document object. And
you should explain like the purpose, like what's the use case for this?
What's the use case for adding cookies? For like the session support. So when you're on server-side rendering, if you have stuff that's based on stuff that's behind cookies or sessions or whatnot, you can still render those things because it has access to the same app state, basically.
So like before we couldn't render like logged in pages before, right? Like we didn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this lets you do that.
Yep.
Cool.
And it maintains cookies throughout the entire thing. So any cookies, like during an SSR event, any AJAX requests that set cookies to the document that's being server-side rendered, those also get passed to the overall request. So everything should be maintained and mostly accurate.
It's almost like real server-side rendering at this point, which is really awesome.
It's fun. That's
Cool.
it.
Thank you, James. I think, yeah, Sheriff can't talk. But Chris? Chris Gomez? There you are.
Hey guys. I'm mostly just working on bitballs, which for the moment means writing a lot of tests. Not much else to report besides that.
Tests are fun. All right, I guess that's everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I don't know how this broadcast is going to end since Justin is running it, but thanks for everyone for watching. DoneJS contributor.
I think I can sign in as Batovian or DoneJS.
I think it'd be funny if like we all just left and it was just Justin by himself.
It'll feel like a 2-hour. Sometimes people stop by, be like,
Right.
okay, I'll see if I can.
Yeah. All right, see you later. Thanks, Julian.
Bye.
Sheriff.
Bye. Ciao.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.